Fallout 76 is a live service multiplayer game developed by Bethesda and released on November 18th, 2018. Like many other games I've talked about on the channel, it had a considerably turbulent launch, plagued with bugs, negative reviews, and other factors outside of the game. However, putting aside all of those situational problems with the game, a lot of players had an issue with the conceptual design of Fallout 76 itself. Many fans of the franchise felt that Fallout was not the right fit for a multiplayer live service game. On the other hand, many fans of live service games didn't feel that Fallout 76 lived up to the genre. However, despite negative reception, Fallout 76 has stayed online for several years now, and I even think it's managed to gain a more positive public perception from people online. Now, I know this is going to come as a shocker, but I love Fallout 76. However, on today's video, I want to put aside the excellent updates to the game and talk about why I loved and still love vanilla Fallout 76.
Stars and Stripes!
Hello and welcome to another Carrot Scraps video, and by another, I mean the 97th. I'm sorry, I just woke up like 10 minutes ago. I was having the best dream. You see, I love Fallout 76, and way back, I used to play it every single day. But when Marvel's Avengers came out, it kind of took my attention away from that game and towards another. And I still absolutely love the game, I just haven't been playing as much as I used to. And so, recently, I've found myself returning in my dreams to that fun and wonderful post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland. Obviously, that wouldn't be fun or wonderful if that happened in real life, but it is in my dreams. Not in my dreams. In the safety of a video game, it's fun to... Let's move on. So before I talk about why I loved vanilla Fallout 76, I wanted to explain what vanilla Fallout 76 even means. Now, what do I mean when I mention vanilla Fallout 76? Well, like I mentioned at the start of the video, the game has changed quite a lot since launch. Some of the fundamentals of the game's design are no longer present, and some of the aspects that were present at launch slowly disappeared with each new update. You see, when Fallout 76 was released, there was mostly only one type of NPC in the game: hostile ones, with the occasional NPCs that would speak to you. On a side note, a big criticism of Fallout 76 is that it didn't have any NPCs. However, that's just wrong. Just because an NPC doesn't speak to you doesn't mean that it's not an NPC. NPC stands for non-player character, so literally any other character in the world, including enemies, count as NPCs. The big distinction is that these NPCs can't be spoken with like you could in previous Fallout games, and like you can in the future of Fallout with Wastelanders, in addition to other updates. One of the core concepts of vanilla Fallout 76 was that the player would inhabit a large open world that wasn't populated by many friendly NPCs, and the few friendly NPCs that did exist had very limited communication skills. The reason this decision was made, according to Bethesda, was to create an opportunity where other players in the game world would act as friendly NPCs, since the game was always online. In theory, players could interact with each other and choose how they wanted to proceed, whether they wanted to be friendly, offer items to trade, or hunt other players. Now, people really disliked this choice for various reasons. One of the main reasons was that communication with people of the Wasteland was one of the staples of the franchise for many fans. However, in 2020, a massive update came to Fallout 76 that changed this defining characteristic forever. This update was called Wastelanders, and it introduced a number of friendly NPCs. In addition, it also added dialogue trees with branching pathways for the story. This decision fundamentally changed what the game set out to be at launch, which is one of many reasons why I think vanilla Fallout 76 is distinct from what it is today. Now, to be clear, Wastelanders is a fantastic update, and I really enjoy how that update has affected future updates that have come to the game. But when I refer to vanilla Fallout 76, I'm essentially talking about the game before the Wastelanders update. I'm talking about the most controversial version of the game. The version of the game where the world of Fallout 76 was almost exclusively populated by hostile NPCs. A world where the only potentially friendly people you could interact with were other players. And a game where the story was communicated primarily through audio logs and text. This was the reality of the extremely dry and desolate vanilla Fallout 76. Now, before we talk about why I loved vanilla Fallout 76, there's one thing I wanted to mention. And what I wanted to mention is why this world was so desolate. Sure, it's the post-apocalypse, but if you've ever played a Fallout game before, you know that after the bombs fell, civilization didn't stop. So what made the world of Fallout 76 different? Well, Fallout 76 tells the story of Appalachia in West Virginia. And this region of the United States actually wasn't nuked directly during the war, and so it left a lot of the environment intact. However, as time went on, the people of Appalachia realized that even though they didn't receive a direct dose of radiation, the rest of the world that was mutated around them by the bombs eventually came to spread the dread that radiation created. In essence, the mutated creatures created by the bombs dropping in the rest of the United States began invading this mostly untouched location, and the worst invaders of them all were the Scorched. The Scorched is the main reason why vanilla Fallout 76 was so empty when it came to friendly NPCs. You see, the Scorched plague would spread to any living beings. It didn't matter if you were human or animal, and once you were infected, there was no cure. Infected individuals would lose their autonomy and join a hive-like mind. Eventually, green legions would protrude from their bodies, and all of those infected by the Scorched plague would roam Appalachia. Now, as you go through the story of vanilla Fallout 76, you learn that the final survivors were getting close to developing a cure for the Scorched plague. However, they knew they wouldn't outrun this virus, so instead of finishing their work, they prepared it to be finished by someone else who might visit Appalachia not knowing what happened. And that's the explanation for why the world is so empty. Despite the initial appearance, the world of Appalachia is not as empty as it seems. Instead, it's haunted by the living corpses of its former population. And the survivors who left Vault 76 are the only ones who aren't infected yet. Now, with all of that context out of the way, let's talk about why I loved vanilla Fallout 76. So, as I've mentioned multiple times now, vanilla Fallout 76 was a world populated almost entirely by hostile NPCs. This empty, dangerous world that Fallout 76 offered to its players was engaging to me because of how empty it was, even though that was a strong criticism of a lot of players. You see, the Fallout franchise is a series of games about surviving after the end of the world. However, at the same time, these games are known for their charisma and personality, especially when it comes to its lively cast of expressive characters. Communication is one of the founding principles of the series. Now, while I absolutely love that about the franchise, I couldn't help but admire the deafening silence of Fallout 76. Because while I love the fiction of Fallout, I have a feeling that the survivor of a real apocalypse would discover a world destroyed and without life, very similar to the one you find in vanilla Fallout 76. A world where only the echoes of society can be heard as you explore the corpse of civilization. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I loved vanilla Fallout 76, because to me, it felt like an authentic post-apocalyptic experience. Not that I would know what that's actually like. Although now that I think about it, Carrot Slurps, you're me from the future. Did you ever experience any apocalypses?
Oh yeah, we've gone through an apocalypse or two in the future. Some worse than others.
Multiple? We gotta get it together in the past. Well, the present. Any apocalypses like Fallout?
Well, the apocalypse of 2062 for one. That one was grim. Had a blast though.
Doesn't really sound like it, honestly.
Oh, there was the one where sentient birds were the dominant species. I didn't care for that one, being human and all. There was the one where we used Polly Pockets as currency. I really excelled during that one. There was the one with the tree virus and the tree people. Ooh, super creepy. Still dealing with that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see why they would be creepy, but I feel like I would definitely rather have tree people over bird people. Bird people sound way... I don't know. I'm way too nonchalant about the prospect of multiple apocalypses in the future. I feel like I should have a stronger reaction to that stuff. But I don't, so, you know, what are you going to do? The emptiness of the world in vanilla Fallout 76 created an atmosphere that for this video, I'll call the authentic post-apocalypse. The authentic post-apocalypse in the form of a lonely world is the main reason why I love vanilla Fallout 76. However, I feel this detail about the launch version of the game makes other things I liked about the original game even better. Specifically, the authentic post-apocalypse heightens the story, base building, and the creatures of the original game in my opinion. While these things are great on their own, I think they're made even better by the atmosphere of the game. Let's start by talking about the story. The story in Fallout 76 is interesting on its own. However, the way the story is told elevates its quality, and how it's delivered is directly connected to the authentic post-apocalypse. Understanding the story in vanilla Fallout 76 can be difficult, but in its own way, comprehending it becomes like its own game. Putting information together in an attempt to understand a timeline is an interesting and rewarding way to tell a story. The way you learn about the events and history of the world of Fallout 76 is the way that I imagine somebody would learn about civilization after an actual apocalypse, by picking up what's left and reading it in piles of trash. To me, it was interesting learning about this world and reading more about these groups and their conflicts, knowing ultimately where it all led. That context gave every story that I read a sad and somewhat eerie vibe, and that uneasy feeling is what I think would permeate in a world like this. Now, while you could build a base in Fallout 4, Fallout 76 makes the experience more engaging in a couple of different ways in my opinion. Being able to build your own base in Fallout 76 almost anywhere instead of in a handful of key locations like in Fallout 4 helps drive home a sense of independence in the wasteland. Everything is destroyed now, but not only can you create a home and start your own story anywhere in the wasteland, but doing so helps distinguish you as an individual from the other survivors from Vault 76. In addition, the unforgiving and cold world that the authentic post-apocalypse provides in Fallout 76 drives players to create a stable shelter to keep them grounded as a survivor. Whereas in Fallout 4, you're not only asked to be a part of multiple communities, you end up wanting to identify with characters and groups because of their distinctive traits, instead of wanting to create your own base. Base building is an important part of the authentic post-apocalyptic atmosphere in Fallout 76, and it's no wonder to me that it's one of the standout features of the game for many players. Another great quality about vanilla Fallout 76 was the plethora of enemy variety. While empty of friendlies, West Virginia in Fallout 76 was populated by some of the strangest enemies in the world of Fallout so far. I think it was clear to Bethesda that if they were going to fill this world with primarily antagonistic enemies, that they needed to make them distinct and memorable. A common criticism of previous Bethesda Fallout games was that they relied too heavily on the species and enemies that came in prior games. However, looking at the enemy variety in Fallout 76, I don't think you can make that same criticism. One of the best things about exploring Appalachia was that every time I thought I had seen everything the world had to offer, a new mutated creature would crawl out of the wilderness to surprise me. In addition, spawn rates for many of these enemies were lower than others. At first, I wasn't a big fan of this because it meant most of my gameplay was spent interacting with the Scorched. However, over time, I realized that these low spawn rates in specific areas meant it made encountering these enemies more special. And by making encounters with detailed and unique enemies more scarce, it made the world feel larger. It made it feel like the wasteland kept going, and that the creatures you encountered had no end. It's a great bit of immersion, and while the plethora of enemies is a quality that still exists in the current version of Fallout 76, I think it was particularly special during the days of vanilla Fallout 76, because that empty world gave these creatures the center stage, and when these creatures had the spotlight, they never disappointed. The last thing I'll say about this version of the game is that it provided a unique role-playing experience when compared to its predecessors. Role-playing is a really important element of the Fallout franchise, and normally that's expressed through decision-making and character creation. However, as I've explained, the empty, harsh, and unforgiving world of Fallout 76 provides a unique but authentic post-apocalyptic experience. So as a result, it was easy for me as a player to imagine myself in this world, and part of my enjoyment when playing for extended periods of time was the fact that I felt so immersed, in a way that could only be provided by the atmosphere of the authentic post-apocalyptic experience of vanilla Fallout 76. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not trying to say that vanilla Fallout 76 is better than what the game is now. I'm also not trying to say that the game should revert to what it was. The updates that have come to the game are really fantastic for Fallout 76 and for the world of Bethesda Fallout games. I think they've managed to make some really fun and special updates for Fallout 76. Updates that both fans of Fallout 76 appreciate and fans of the Fallout franchise in general. I just wanted to take a second to talk about what I really appreciated about the launch version of the game, especially since vanilla Fallout 76 often isn't looked at very fondly, even by people who love the game. Now, I will say that I wish the things that I loved about the original version of Fallout 76 were re-implemented in certain ways. For example, if there were vanilla Fallout 76 servers, then players could choose what experience they wanted to interact with, playing on modern Fallout 76 servers or vanilla Fallout 76 servers. I feel like that would be a really cool way to meet players like myself in the middle. But until then, I still love the modern version of Fallout 76, and it was nice reminiscing about a version of the game that I really loved. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this video. If for some reason you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and to subscribe to my channel for more. As regular viewers know, I make a variety of content on my channel, and I'm always gonna make the videos that I wanna make. But if you see something you enjoy, make sure to let me know, and I'll try to prioritize that kind of content in the future. If you want to watch me play video games live, you can check me out on Twitch at twitch.tv/carrotscraps, and all my other social media, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, are at carrotscraps as well. So I want to thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. So I recorded this earlier today, and none of the footage saved. Isn't that pleasant? Isn't that nice? Well, the video saved, but the audio didn't. Isn't that just nice? So here's our second take. But in today's video, I want to put aside the excellent updates to the game and talk specifically about why I love vanilla. That was just weird.